Report, powered by Global Credit Union. Exclusively on Rockin' Manooch with Jimmy B. Right here on Fox Sports 910, 99.9 FM HD3, and streaming on the iHeartRadio app. Get ready to dive behind the scenes as we explore the minds of the top playmakers, coaches, and partners of GCU athletics. So whether you're on the go or tuning in from home or in your car, let's go Lopes.
Well, I don't think I've recovered yet from that game because that game was nuts against the Western Kentucky Hilltoppers. And the guy who saw it, called it on radio, is our guest right now, GCU's Paul Coro. Paul, welcome, pal. As always, it's always good when we catch up with you. That was a heart stopper. When I talked to Coach prior to that game on the air, I referenced the fact how talented Western Kentucky was, and he went into the aspect of they had a lot of guys back from last year, and they were good last year, and that game was sensational.
Oh, for sure. I mean, in the first week of your season to play an NCAA tournament team that had won the Conference USA tournament a year ago, they had 7 seniors, 4 of their starters. So that was certainly a test with the Lopes being down 2 starters in that game. And, Western Kentucky just plays a unique style. They had the fastest pace in the country last year. So that's something to get used to right off the bat in this season. And, it was the challenge they expected. They didn't expect to be in that kind of hole. They had to, got down by as much as 9. They had to have an 8-0 run to end the game. And pretty much, the principal guys who had struggled in the game all made clutch plays down the stretch.
Well, and the guy that stepped up, Colin Moore, your senior, and nice to see these seniors stick around. You think about his average so far, 16.5 points, right around 7 boards. But the one thing as far as his movement, his shooting, is just, I would call determinability, if that's a word, to go ahead and get the things done.
It's not a word.
It's a Manooch word.
Some might say determination, but you say
determinability. the ability to be determined.
Okay,
I love it.
Fair enough.
Yeah, whatever you call it, he had it.
Yeah.
You're right. 23 points and 10 boards in that game. In a game where you're playing small because of the guys you're missing. There was times where Bryce Drew was going with a 4-guard lineup and maybe even like big as Jacoby Cole at 6'8". And so you have to have gang rebounding in those situations. And Colin Moore is one of those types of guys. He's so long and athletic. 4 of those boards were offensive rebounds where he's like getting tip-ins or going back at it. And, he was one of the consistent guys over the game that kind of helped the Lopes be in that position. I mean, Jacoby Coles has been, huge. He's a TCU transfer. He's been in the NCAA tournament the last 3 years, but he had never had a double-double in his career at TCU, and he comes to GCU, and he has double-doubles in his first 2 games. And he's been sensational. He's so multi-skilled. He's that guy at the Y that's got all the tricks in his bag with the mid-range fadeaways and he's just such a savvy player, and he can play any position on offense or defense.
Let me throw another one at you. They didn't back away from the physicality of Western Kentucky as well either. That one I know is a word for sure.
Yeah, physicality, yeah, especially again with that smaller lineup. But they, as much as they're playing guard lineups, the Lopes have big guards. They have big, mature guards, guys who've been around, guys who've been in the weight room for 4 or 5 years. They're built differently, and you can even see it right down to that last play. Ray Harrison, Bryce Drew just turned over the ball to him. He'd been 1 for 10 in the game, but that's your guy, right? He's got 2,000 plus career points, and they got the switch on the high screen, and he's just powerful enough against the 6'7" guy to blow. Not only have the burst to go by him, but the strength to control his body and have a reach for a last-second shot. I mean, perfectly timed, 0.4 on the clock when he scored.
All right, so that was going to be my question. Was that a set play that they have practiced a lot during practice sessions?
Yeah, for sure, and they needed to know they were going to go to it because they were out of timeouts at the time. Bryce Drew had to, that game was getting away from him so many points in the second half. He was going with a 6-man rotation in the second half. So between trying to get guys a breather and stem some of the momentum Western Kentucky was getting at times, he had burned all the timeouts. So you come down to that situation and you go to exactly what you're going to do, the 2-man game with Harrison and Jacoby Coles, and the defense kind of dictates what you do there, right?
Mm-hmm.
If they double Ray on the ball, then Jacoby Coles is probably our hero that you're talking about with a mid-range jumper to win the game.
Was there any hesitation when Ray had the ball, since he had such an awful shooting night? You just referenced 1 for 10. The ball just would not drop in for him.
No, Bryce Drew talks about all the time that Ray Harrison wants the ball in those moments. Like, he said that in the past before even this situation. He loves to have the big free throws. He loves to have the big shots at the end of the game. I mean, his own nickname is Big Time Ray. So, like, if there's a moment made for Big Time Ray, it's a big time game winner like that. And the thing he's changed about his game in the off season is he's really worked on his athleticism. He didn't lean out a bunch, but he just has a little bit more burst. And so on a play like that, where you just need that little edge to get out in front of the 6'7" guy and stretch it out, like, I mean, you see the photo of that shot. He looks like Air Jordan in the air with the way his body was spread.
So is that the 8-man rotation? Only 3 guys off the bench. Obviously, Shaw played a lot of minutes. Is that where Coach Drew's going to stick with, at least for now?
Well, the cavalry's on the way. Tyon Grant Foster can make his debut Thursday night against Arizona State, and that's not just adding any player. That's adding the WAC Player of the Year from last year, the WAC leading scorer last year, a guy that Jay Billis put on his All-America second team preseason to start this season. So all of a sudden you feel like you have a lot more options and rotations and things like that when you put Tyon Grant Foster back in the mix.
All right, so now take me, because it's all about the next game. You guys know that. Take me then to ASU. I watched a couple of the ASU games. They took Gonzaga to the mat at Gonzaga's home court, the Kennel, and ended up losing that game, but they were in that game until just the final couple of minutes. How now do you set up your matchups for this game against the Sun Devils?
Yeah, I think you definitely have to look at the ASU version of the last couple games, because they don't look anything like that team that got annihilated in the exhibition at Duke by 50+, the one that struggled to win at home against Idaho State. Now they've played a couple probably tournament teams in Santa Clara, and definitely Gonzaga at the Kennel, no less, and impressed. It looks like the front court has made a lot of improvement in those games. Certainly a young bunch, but, you know, ASU, it's going to be an interesting environment, right? Neutral court, downtown Phoenix at the Footprint Center, men's, women's doubleheader. It's kind of what everybody's envisioned should happen with these two Valley teams. Put them on one court in a neutral place. They played twice before, during COVID, so no atmosphere that game with no crowd. And then the next game was at ASU. So I think this will be the first one where the tension in the building matches on the court.
Yeah, a little bragging rights going on for the winner of this game. Talk to us about this team after 2 games. You beat Cal State Fullerton 89-79. You guys pulled away late from that one. You talked about Coles had 28 points and Harrison had 21 points. What is the makeup of the team? What's the identity for the team after 2 games going into this ASU game on Thursday night?
You know, I think with 5 of the top 6 guys coming back, you expected this to be a mature team, and that's kind of showing out in these early moments. You know, putting away that Fullerton game, down 2 starters, and then being on the ropes against Western Kentucky. You have a lot of guys that have a lot of cool to them because they've been in so many situations, and you know, Ray Harrison's started 100+ games. Colin Moore started every game last season for the Lopes, and Luke Warr came on at the end of the year. Luke Warr makes one of the biggest shots in that game with a corner 3, and that was off of a pass from Mekhi Williams, who's a new player, and he's another one besides Coles that's really helped that returning group kind of give them more scoring options. He was the WAC Freshman of the Year last year at Arlington and started 30 games there, so he comes in now into like a 6-man role once the Lopes have their full lineup, and he's, was a top 20 3-point shooter last year, but he can handle the ball too. So they're a lot more dangerous all over the place. You don't have to just have Tyon Grant Foster carry you offensively. And, he wants to show he's more of a playmaker this year, and he's got weapons around him to show it.
I'm really happy that you came on the show today as a radio broadcaster, because if I had the coach on, he wouldn't answer this question. So I know that it's all about the season that is now in progress. I get that. But you had an opportunity to make the jump to the Mountain West, a league that gets 4, 5, sometimes 6 teams into the dance. I mean, how excited is that now for knowing the opportunity and your fan base that not just the winner in the conference tournament, the only team that ever has a chance to go, that you might have a chance to be in the dance year after year after year?
Oh, absolutely. That's absolutely a big part of this. GCU always wants to schedule, but you don't want to have the whole game predicated, or a whole season predicated on one game at the end and whatever happens within those 40 minutes. And, 3 of 4 years they've made it to the NCAA tournament, but, now that you have a different way in the future, with what you're saying about the Mountain West, just, some traditionally strong basketball programs, and you're on the footprint a little bit more nationally too. The names, the television, everything that goes around that, the markets that the Mountain West is in just feels different. And the nice thing is when the Mountain West commissioner came to campus for the season opener, she was glowing about GCU, about what GCU is going to do for the Mountain West to bring the Phoenix market into the conference and to have an atmosphere like the Havocs create at Global Credit Union Arena.
It's always good, pal, when you're on the show. Thank you. We're really looking forward to that matchup. Downtown Footprint Center, ASU, GCU. Have a great call.
All right, great talking to you guys.
There you go. You got it, man. That's Paul Coro, everybody, the radio color analyst for the Lopes. All right, coming up, El Bandito Yankee Tequila Report. The owner, Jim Bob Morris, is going to be our guest. Yes, he does a Chicago Bears post-game show. We are going to ask him if indeed Matt Eberflus should be gone. Rockin' Manooch with Jimmy B. Fox Sports 910.